Well, having to talk for a few days. Here I am, and wanted to stress a point that how to deal with these assholes who believe in forest laws. The strong conquer the weak. The strong rule the weak. Do they grow up being bullied, or do they grow up that so narcissistic that they think they're the center of the universe? Here's the thing. Since the start of Iran war, United States frozen accounts of the Iran elites, and they managed to get $300 billion out of the Iran. That's pretty much it. The rest of the money is frozen. They can't touch their money. That's how you hurt an authoritarian regime or totalitarian religious regime, to make their leaders poor, to deprive them of their belongings that they violently grabbed from their own people. Same thing. That's the final stage we will see that how to deal with China and Russia. Both authoritarian regime. They stink the same. The only way the final blow to them is to freeze all the assets their leaders have. Then that's how you hurt them. Because if you, for example, look at the blockage of Hormuz, the living standard of Iranian people has gone down, but the regime does not care. That's not how the regime get hurt. It's when they don't have money, when the elites, the very rulers of the regime, get no money. Same thing to Russia, same thing to China. These authoritarian regimes, they stick together. And Putin has been broadcasting about how bad the US is, using his made up hallucination or accusations. And there are some mouthpiece for Putin all over the internet, stating that Putin is the strong man, has a strong hold, and the strongest get to live in this dark forest. Remember, all the BRIC country who try to start a new international order still use SWIFT system to transfer money. Their central banks still under the thumb of Wall Street. Yes, China earned money and China bought oil, and the money went to the Middle East, and the Middle East invest US. Yes, there's this chain of capital flow, right? But US still has a platform, and China still a player. Yes, China is the strongest opponent of US, if not enemy. So, and again, China just act to the globalists that it's behaved well, and they try to cooperate with the U.S. and the U.S. and China meeting was a show to the world that U.S. and China still in cooperation, directed by the globalists who who controls both China and U.S. Some people say that China has some power, or Trump, U.S. has it's kowtowing to China. That's why US goes to China first. Totally discard the procedures. Procedures don't matter, the behaviors don't matter. What matter is there is a superstructure above both countries, and they negotiate the final power of the world. And yes, during in a history period of history that certain element of the global superstructure gonna go up, um, and certain elements gonna go down. Doesn't mean that a superstructure itself has changed. It has a firm grip of the power over the entire globe. So forest law is nothing to brag about. There is forest law. There also democracy, justice, equality, and certain people or people from authoritarian regime tend to have this power hunger, aggressive mindset and behaviors. If you look at the academic literature, they have done a lot of experiments and a lot of and empirical experiments and empirical knowledge facts that these people think in their world that um, forest law rule. And they talk about Epstein. It's an anomaly. It's bad. It's an anomaly here, sure. But majority, look at the majority. When they talk about freedom of speech, they say, "Oh, you don't have freedom of speech either. You can't say certain things." Don't look at in an absolute view. Look at in a relative view. When you have freedom of speech here in the West, you have a bigger degree of freedom of speech, freedom of press. In the authoritarian countries, you don't even have a freedom press. You have a one voice that constantly brainwashes you. And if you say, "I'm so strong, I don't get brainwashed," good for you. But the environment has more influence there than the environment here. Yes, the West has a left and right media, but you have two voices you can listen to. You say, "Oh, people don't listen to the other voice." At least you have the choice. It's there. You ran across it from time to time. So the freedom of speech is a degree. Its extent is not absolute. Nothing is absolute in this world. When you see somebody who's so certain about this world politics, so certain about absolute facts or absolute politics, this person tend to be a fool. Everything is flexible, but you can see there is a general pattern of the humanity is the humanity is going towards a democracy, going towards a general laws of humans instead of being servitude to the lords in the authoritarian government countries. They close information. They don't let people know information at all. And they pushed all the apartments, houses to people, and let people own a big debt, and let them put their money in the bank, and they loan the bank to the export companies. That's their economic model. China is restricted. China wearing a straight jacket. It cannot get out of it. Not as now. Not as its structure has been built like this, that without exporting goods, China is doomed. And the birth rate replacement rate is less than 2.1, the standard replacement of older generation that can maintain the stability of a population. So by 2050, there will be 1/3 of Chinese. So they don't have this labor comparative advantage anymore. So the point is, and let's don't talk about AI. AI has another layer. You can be good, it can be bad. Take this factor out. You just look at the labor. You manufacturing country, right? You don't have labor anymore in a few decades, and you're export oriented. When you made money, you did not put the China did not put money in their citizens, their residents. They don't not even call them citizens. They put their residents' pockets. So they don't have money to purchase to bail out these export factories and manufacturers when they can't sell outside. How can you see China has more power? It's just absurd. And the people who see this say the same thing Putin says. You watch Putin, what he says about the US, and to basically uh, say shit about the US. And these people do the same trick on the social media. And they are kind of Putin's copycats. It's coordinated propaganda, stating that a strong man rules, the strongest rule in the forest law, U.S. too soft, quagmired in Middle East and in the swamp, and trapped in the Middle East. But meanwhile, they are making progress in Ukraine and they're making progress on Taiwan. I'm talking about Russia in Ukraine and China in Taiwan. This kind of statements, it just try to weaken the U.S. so that this authoritarian regime can do what they want. There's only one figure, there's only one power that can hold authoritarian regimes in check, is the US. So, if you don't like authoritarian regimes that extinguish human nature, then that kills the weak, enslave the weak, you stand with the United States of America. You stand with the West. If you don't appreciate and if you're disgusted by the strong people enslaving the weak, you stand by with the Statue of Liberty. You stand by with the Bill of Rights. You stand by with the Constitution. You stand by the human rights. You stand by the free world of the West. And this is what I want to talk today after watching a few shit channels on YouTube. Bye. Have a good day.